Hey guys, welcome to tutorial number 3. So at the end of tutorial today, you will be able to build something like this, which is a taxi screen, in which we will have a map view. On the map view, we will have a marker including the taxi stand marker and also the nearby taxi marker. So it will show you the location of the taxi stand and also the nearby taxi. And when you click on this icon, it's going to show you some detail like the taxi stand detail and taxi details. So yeah, please follow along to make sure you will be able to build something like this at the end of this tutorial in our MyTransportApp. So reminder, if you haven't downloaded MyTransportApp from the Google Play Store, feel free to download it. This is the goal of our tutorial series. We want to build something like this at the end of the series. And yeah, I appreciate if you can contribute something to my channel by buying me a coffee. If you would like to support my content and allow me to continue to do something that I love to do, feel free to buy me a coffee on this page. I will put it at the description of this video. So in last week we built a navigation drawer, and then also at the home page we have home screen map view. Actually today the map view that we are going to build, which is a taxi screen map view, is going to have the same concept as the home screen map view. So a lot of code I actually repeated, and a lot of things that I have already done in the home map view I will not explain in detail again. So if you haven't learned about the map view in the first tutorial, feel free to go back and then check it out to make sure you'll be able to understand what we are going to cover in the tutorial today. We will have additional things like the marker and the dialog on the map view, and yeah, let's do it right now. So yeah, we might have a question right now in which how do I get the data of the nearby taxi in the taxi stand, from where I get the source of this information. That is a good question, because this is what the whole app is about. We need a data source, and we need to transform the source into our app. So how can we find the source of the information? Well, in Singapore, the Land Transport Authority actually provide this data on their website. You can go to mytransport.sg Land Transport DataMall, in which when you click on the API documentation, you can actually get something like this, in which there's an API user guide that show you what are the information that are available on this API. So there are a lot of things that we are going to use in our app, including the bus arrival, bus services, bus stops, bus routes, blah blah blah. And then yeah, a lot of things, a lot of API information data that you can use in this app. And in this tutorial, we are going to use the taxi availability and the taxi stand. So if you click this, it will show you yeah, this is the URL of the API, and then this update every 1 minute, and then under this API you can get the latitude and longitude of the nearby taxi. So other than that, we are also able to get the taxi stand information, which the update frequency is monthly. So for taxi stand, you are able to get more attributes like taxi code, taxi stand code, barrier free, whether the taxi stand is barrier free, the ownership of the taxi stand, type of taxi stand, name of the taxi stand, things like this. So we want to actually display this information onto our map view, but we want to put them all inside the marker. The marker will show the location of this taxi stand and taxi. So in order to have marker on the map view, we want the latitude and longitude of each object. So how do we call the API? So in order to do this, to show you, for the sake of showing you how this API work, you can actually download this Postman. So this Postman is actually a software that you can download from the internet. It will allow you to actually make an API call. In this case, we are doing a GET request. So we are trying to get something from this URL, and in the parameters there's nothing, but then in the headers you want to put the account key, which is your account key that you can register from the DataMall website. So when you click on request for API access, it will ask you to fill up your information and submit it, and then in your email you will receive the API code. So this is confidential, so I'm not going to share with you my API code, but you can register yourself as the developer, and then we're going to use this API code here under the key account key. You put in your API code, and then under the key accept you put application/JSON. So this is a JSON format of information. So when I put a request to this URL, right, taxi availability, when I send it, it's going to give me information like this in a JSON format. So see the value of each taxi. So this is the information that we need. Then we will do some transformation of this information into something that we need. So I'm going to show you how we can do that later. So yeah, download Postman, do it to make sure you are able to get it. Alright, come back to our code. We actually have a lot of code to be covered today. So as usual, we go back to our text-based version of a tutorial, learn.datascience.com. You can see tutorial 3, MyTransportApp, Taxi Screen with Kivy Mapview and KivyMD Dialog. So step 1, go to LTA DataMall request for API access. So we're going to use section 2.9 and 2.9 as discussed. And I also put the link of the LTA DataMall website here, and also the API user guide. If you have time, just read through the user guide to make sure you have better understanding of the data itself. So in the API key _.py, add the following. I have already done that here, but I'm not going to show you what is my API key.py. You just add this line of code into your API key _.py, and then replace this your LTA account key with the key that you receive from LTA DataMall. Once you register as a developer, they're going to send you this account key for your account. So I'm not going to show you mine, but go ahead and do it for yourself. So in the method.py, add authentication parameters, API parameters on top of the main.py. So I'm just going to copy this and here. Well, let's see. I want to see where I want to put it. Okay. So I'm going to put it under here. Header is account key, your LTA account key, accept application says JSON, and then your URL is datamall2.mytransport.sg. This is the same basic URL. Then the one behind this slash are different based on the API information that you're looking for. So the next thing that we want to do is we create a screen called taxi screen, same as what we did for the home screen. And then in the main.py, we also want to import the LTA account key from API key _. So let's see. I'll put it here. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is in the main.kv, we want to include the taxi screen. So we create a class of taxi screen, and then also at the same time in the main.kv, we also want to include it so that we can navigate to the screen later. So the next step is that under our screen manager, we want to add the taxi screen. So that should be the next step in tutorial. Add our taxi screen. So what's going to happen is that home screen, you must put it at the top of your screen manager, so that when we build a screen, the first screen that will be shown will be of your home screen. If you put the taxi screen on top of the home screen, the app will actually show the taxi screen before the home screen. So the taxi screen will become a home screen. To make sure home screen is your home screen, make sure home screen is put at the top. I mean, the first screen under the screen manager. Okay. So the next one, under the Kivy folder, which is this one. Now we have only home screen.kv, but we want to create taxi screen.kv as well. So copy this, taxi screen.kv, and then paste it. So what we are going to have here is a class taxi screen that is referring to this taxi screen. And then we are going to have a float layout. Remember, we want to have a float layout because we want to define the pose hint and size hint of this component or widget. The first widget that we want to have is a map view. We want to have the whole screen. We want to have a map view. Remember that the title bar is defined under main.kv above the screen manager. So no matter what, when you go to each page, you don't have to define it again, because it is above the navigation layout. Because when you change from one screen to another screen, this thing won't change. It is just under your root, above your navigation layout. Okay. Then after that, we define ID called Taxi Mapview. So the home one we call it Mapview. So the taxi one we call it Taxi Mapview. And of course, we want to later we want to create a taxi folder, and then we want to put a taxi map view in the taxi folder. And grid layout, the first grid layout, the second grid layout, we want to define an image button so that we can go back to the home page. So as you press the first button, taxi, we want to navigate to this screen. When you press this back button, we want to go back to the home screen. Okay, so we define a back button with the source of icon /back.png. Well, actually, the icons I have already created a lot of icons. So there's actually an icon folder on my GitHub repository. This one. So you can download it from my GitHub repository, and I already done that. So under this, there are a lot of icons that you can use. So I'm going to use the back button, back.png icon. And we're going to create a canvas, which is, where is it? This canvas behind this back button. And yeah, the original color will be the primary color of the app. And then when the stat is normal, when you click it, it's going to change color to this hex code color. Alright. And then lastly, when you click it on release, it's going to call this change screen function to home screen. When you click the back button, we want to go back to home screen. And direction is left, mode is pop. Okay. So now we are at step 9. In the main.py, we want to add the following in the change screen function. So copy this, go back to the main.py, and then under this change screen function, we want to define, if screen name is taxi screen, we want to say, we want to change the title name .title, self.root.id.title name, which is this one. .title, we want to change the HG transport to nearby taxi. Okay, and then we define the map view. Our map view is equal to self.root.id.taxi screen. Yes, is in the taxi self.root, which is this one, root.taxi screen .id.map view. So taxi screen .taxi map view. So we are referring to this taxi map view. Okay, this is our taxi screen map view. Okay, so every time we load into taxi screen, we want to remove the original map view widget, and then we want to build a new one. So that every time we come back, we go out and then come back, we will remove the old one, and then we create a new one to make sure our information is always the latest. Okay, we want to. So for W, which is abbreviation for widget, in taxi screen map view.walk. So I will check if these have any map view or not. Okay, and if there is a map view, I will remove it. Okay, and then later on I will build the new one. Okay, so if w_underscore class w_underscore equal to taxi map view, so if under this taxi screen map view there is a taxi map view, I want to remove it, and then later on I want to build a new one. Okay, if something wrong, I call it accept, put something wrong, and then pass. Okay, so under the main app, we define a taxi map view object. Where is it? Okay, we will define it here, and then under the main.py, we want to import the object property. So I define taxi map view as an object property. Let's see. Then under here, I say you must import the Kivy properties to be able to use the object property. And then also in the taxi folder, we are going to create a taxi folder called we are going to create a folder called taxi folder, and then inside we are going to create a map view. So before that, we can create this. So now we create a taxi folder, taxi_folder, and then we want to put all the things that is related to taxi map view inside this taxi folder. We don't want to create at the same level as main.py, because later on as our tutorial become bigger and bigger, as we have more tutorial, as our app become bigger and bigger, we're going to have a lot of files, a lot of map views. So we just want to organize them better by creating different folders. So in this taxi folder, we are going to create a taxi map view, in which we will have a taxi map view class. Okay. So download the icon folder. Okay, this one you already done it. And in the taxi folder, create a taxi map view. So I'm going to create a taxi map view.py, and then I'm going to copy this huge amount of code. That is the reason why I don't want to type it out. Okay, let me explain it. So as mentioned, taxi mapview.py is basically similar to home mapview.py, except that we will have a function that will check for the taxi and taxi stand nearby, and then we want to create a marker on top of the map view. So in the home map view, we basically, there is nothing on the map view, but then on the taxi's map view, we want to have something, the marker, taxi marker, and also the taxi stand marker. So so under this taxi map view class, first we're going to define a function called start getting taxi in field of view. Okay, so yeah, I think it's better to also copy the script from the next step inside the taxi mapview.kivy, and then I will explain it together. Taxi mapview.kivy, paste it, save. So this is the front end of taxi map view. You can see we have a class, and then the zoom is 16. When you double tap, it will zoom. Okay, the maximum zoom is 16. If less than 16, we will set it to 16. You can always zoom out. And then as the user change the latitude and longitude on their device, okay, on let or non, no matter you change the latitude or longitude, it's going to call this start getting taxi in field of view. So as the user navigate through the screen, we are not going to populate all the data into the entire map view. We are only going to populate the data within the screen that the user is looking at. So when the user change it, we are going to detect the corner, the screen that user is looking at, and then we only show those marker that is within the user screen. So what we're going to do is we want to call this function start getting taxi in field of view in this taxi mapview.py, and then also we have a GPS blinker, which I have explained in tutorial number 1. Okay, so when the latitude and longitude is changed, we have this function called start getting taxi in field of view. Okay, so it's just going to check for the new how do you call that? This start getting taxi in field of view is going to call this function called get taxi in field of view. So this get taxi in field of view is going to have a function called solve.getBbox. It actually returns the bounding box of the screen, the bounding box of the screen to these 4 variables. So as the user change their screen, we are going to get the minimum, maximum, and minimum longitude, maximum longitude, and then minimum latitude and maximum latitude of the screen. If you want to read more about this, you can go to this Stack Overflow of what is bbox. Okay, basically it's a bounce of the map view. Okay, but I'm not going to explain in detail here. So so we basically just want to check what is the maximum and minimum latitude and longitude of that screen, and then we want to only show the marker within that screen. So but we don't want to every time the user move a little bit, then we call this function. If the user actually stays on that screen for 1 second, which then we have a clock here, clock.schedules once self.getTaxi in field of view. So every once, if the user stay on 1 second on that screen, we want to call this function. Okay. So when this function is called, we are going to get the bbox, which is the minimum and the maximum latitude and longitude of that screen. And then after that, we start to call for our API. So this is the path of this 2.9, section 2.9. This is the path. Okay. And then we already have the URL, basic URL available. Then the whole complete URL will be equal to this one plus this one. Okay, as per documentation. Okay, and then we are going to use a request.get as what we are doing in the Postman, but now we are putting in the code, and then we will get the taxi availability. And then since it's JSON format, we load the content in the JSON.load, and then we are going to get a response. Okay, so the response that we get is something like this. So for taxi, in taxi availability response, the key is value. So what we are trying to get is everything under this key value. We are trying to get everything here for each one. Okay, we are going to check if the taxi latitude, longitude. So the key is longitude. We are going to check if this one is more than the minimum and less than the maximum, and if the latitude is more than the minimum and less than maximum. If yes, That means it's within the screen. Then we are going to add the taxi into these functions. Okay, same for taxi stand, we are doing the same thing. We check if the latitude and longitude of the taxi stand is within this B box. If yes, then we add the taxi stand. So what is going to happen here is we define the latitude and longitude to be the latitude and longitude of that particular taxi that is being thrown here, and then we create a marker. This marker is a new class which we will create later. We'll throw this latitude and longitude into this marker, and then the marker inside we will create a variable called taxi data, which will take the information about this taxi. So we want all the information related to this taxi, which are the latitude and longitude, and then we want to display it as we click the marker. Okay, self.add widget marker. Okay, self is referring to the map view. Then we add the widget marker. So the marker will be added to the map view. Same for the taxi stand. Okay, but the taxi stand we have additional thing, which is the taxi code. So we actually create a variable called taxi stand code, which we want to store all the code, all the taxi stand code that we already passed to the marker. We don't want to keep on displaying the same. So as the user navigate through the screen, if a taxi stand is still within the screen, we don't want to display it again. So we want to store the code to make sure we don't duplicate the same marker. Okay. Okay. Next, create a taxi marker.py. And then paste it, save. So in this taxi marker.py, we are going to have two classes. One is for taxi, the other one for taxi stand. So remember that just now we passed the taxi data information from here. Marker.taxi data is equal to taxi. Marker.taxi stand data is equal to taxi stand. We pass the taxi stand information here to taxi data and taxi stand data. And then define the source is equal to the icons in my icon folder. And this marker, right, on release, which means when you press it, it's going to pop up a menu, the MD dialog menu. So which the data is self.taxi data. We're going to pass the data into this pop-up menu, and then you can actually define the size of this pop-up menu, and then it's going to open up this menu. So the next thing, right, you are going to have a pop-up menu. When you press the marker, you are going to have a taxi pop-up menu.py. Okay, this pop-up menu is going to have two classes as well, because we have one class for the taxi, the other class for the taxi stand, and the information that is being passed here, right, we're going to do something with it. So for the taxi, we only have latitude and longitude information as per our Postman. So our header will be latitude and longitude, and then our value will be this value for each taxi. It will be different for each taxi. So for depends on number of headers. Okay, our attribute name, which is the header. For example, if I is 0, our attribute name will be header 0, which is the latitude. Our attribute value, right, will be the taxi data, which a key is attribute name. So that means this, for example, this 103.xx325 will be assigned to latitude. Okay, then it's going to pass to this Taxi MD dialog. Okay, same for the taxi stand, but we have more header. Okay, we have taxi code, latitude, longitude, BFA, ownership type, and name. So we are going to pass this information, right, to this ND dialog, which is found inside KivyMD UIX dialog. So if you are using my KivyMD from my GitHub repository, then you will already have this information available. You do not need to write again. You see, now I have this Taxi MD dialog. I also have this Taxi Stand MD dialog. Okay, so yeah, you can see that I have defined the variable to be a string property. The set attribute just now is going to pass the value here to this variable. Okay, this set attribute is going to pass the value corresponding to this header to here. To my variable here. Same for the taxi stand, it's going to pass here. So why I want to pass the information here is because on top of it I have a builder's yeah, I have builder.loadString, which is going to load this dialog at the beginning. So it's going to create a dialog, Taxi MD dialog from the pop-up, and then under it you will have some thin box like this. This is the one thin box, two thin box. The label of the thin box is going to be, the first one is going to be latitude, and then the value of the thin label, right, is going to be root.latitude. What do you mean by root here? Root is going to refer to the variable below here. This one is going to look for this variable and look for what is the value of this variable. Okay, I hope I explained enough about how this dialog work. Okay, so where are we? So this one already explained. This one, which is under the builder load string, already explained. So under the man.py, okay. So we are done with this. Make sure you save it, right? Otherwise it's not going to work. Under the man.py, if screen name, you go to the taxi screen. Okay, since we remove the map view, we want to create it back. Okay. So after we remove it, we are going to create a new map view for taxi screen. And then the taxi screen map view is going to add the widget of taxi map view. We remove it, but now we want to add it back, so that every time you load into the taxi screen, it's going to give you a fresh new map view. And then this map view is going to center on your current latitude and longitude, which is this one. So if you are navigating from home screen, let's say you are at Jurong East, and then when you change to taxi screen, you don't want your map view in the taxi screen to be at somebody in the Orchard, for example. You want your map view of the taxi to be same as your home map view, home screen map view. That's why we want this map view to center on this current latitude and longitude, which is being set in the home GPS helper. You see? Okay. And then second last step, we want to create a taxi GPS helper.py under the taxi folder. So taxi GPS helper.py. This GPS helper.py is going to have the same function as a home GPS helper.py, which is to call the blinker to blink, and then also to update the current latitude and longitude. So I have already explained this GPS helper in the tutorial once. I don't want to explain it again. what I am doing. Let's see. Delete. Paste. Come on. Okay. It's going to have the same function as a home GPS helper, except that here we want to change the blinker to the map view blinker. Okay. And then same, we want to update the current latitude and longitude at the main.py as we change our locations. And lastly, in the mem.py, we want to call this GPS helper to run. Save. And I think we are done. Let's run it and see the result. It's taking some time. Okay, now we are at the home screen, and as we click taxi screen, oops, GPS helper. Let's see, 920. Why is it like this? GPS helper. Oh, come on. Never mind. Let's see. Delete, paste. Okay, this one should work. And run it. Home screen, taxi. Boom. So now we have the taxi screen, and we have the taxi stand and nearby taxi. You see, this is the taxi nearby this location under this B box. As we click this taxi, it will show the latitude and longitude in the pop-up menu in the MD dialog. And then these are the taxi stand nearby. So if you click the taxi stand, it's going to show you the detail of the taxi stand. Taxi call, latitude, longitude, VFA, ownership type, and name. Okay, and then we go. Okay, look at the title. So we change the SG transport to nearby taxi. You can put whatever name you want. And as we go back with the back button, it's going to come back to the home screen again. Okay. And okay, I think that is the end of this tutorial. Is about almost 40 minutes. I hope I've explained clear enough for this taxi map view. And if you like the video, feel free to click the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave your comment below. And yeah, in the next video, I think we will cover another new widget which is called KivyMD backdrop, and we want to use that for the bus stop. And I hope to see you in the next one.